Hello everyone, my name is Caleb Reed and I am a student at the Crane School of Music in Potsdam, New York. Today I'm going to talk a bit about what a soundscape is and the website mynoise.net. So first off, let's just talk about what is a soundscape. A soundscape is the conglomerate of all the sounds you hear in a particular setting. What you're listening to right now is a soundscape of my own that I created using mynoise.net. So, some examples of what a soundscape is. When you eat in a restaurant, you might hear people talking and plates clanking. Another example is when you walk to the park, you might hear birds chirping, a river flowing, or people having a picnic. Or, for example, if you imagine to yourself the music and the creaking that you would associate with an old church. These are all examples of soundscapes. A soundscape, in essence, is all the big and tiny sounds within a place or environment. A lot of people use soundscapes to compose music, similar to what I've done here. A lot of people use it to create an atmosphere, and a lot of people also use it to block out distracting sounds in one's area. So, what mynoise.net right here is an interactive soundscape maker that is completely free and also ad-free to use. So if I just turn this off for a second, so start from the beginning. So on this first page here, you can see a bunch of different categories of soundscapes that were made on the mynoise.net website. So for example, if you need to focus in a noisy environment, they recommend using Irish Coast or a cafe restaurant. Irish Coast is in the description, as you could hear different waves and the wind and the waves. You listen to that? So that is one example of a soundscape, just the sounds that one would associate with an Irish Coast. You can see there's a dozen different categories on here. For example, they have distant thunder here, which is really helpful for blocking out audible distractions in one's area. So you'll hear some rain, you'll hear some crashes of thunder, and different sounds related to that can help some people focus. So you can hear all the different noises that I mentioned before with that. So what we'll start off first for an example today is the 88 key soundscape, which is essentially a piano. So what it loaded up here is a soundscape that I created on 88 keys before, and is also part of what you heard at the beginning of this video. So just to talk about the features of the soundscape, first thing you'll notice probably is all of these different colored bars. What these are essentially are volume levels for the different instruments and sounds that are part of this soundscape. So for example, if I go on the right here, the single note sound, if I turn that way up, you can hear that a lot louder and more clearly. And this applies for all the different sounds that you might hear in the soundscape. And you can put those at whatever level you wish. So to get into these buttons on the bottom, this first one just resets the sliders to where they were at before. So now it's back to what I had at the beginning. The next couple are about animations. So if I turn this on, what slider animation is it makes all of these different sliders here move around to different levels on their own. This is really helpful if you want something to be constantly altering or changing, or you hear different noises. It's really nice to turn that on if you would like that experience. There is a slider animation mode. This decides how large of a difference between your default levels that you would like the animation to go between. So right now it's set as subtle, but if I set it to let's go with deep, it'll expand a lot more than what it was before. I put the animation speed at fast. We should see that as I'm talking here. I go to a bunch of different levels and you can see it as well. There's these volume buttons here. This just decreases increases or mutes everything as you wish. As you can hear, that stopped playing. This next button is a meditation bell, because a lot of people like to use soundscapes to calm down or to meditate. So if I click that, you can hear that. And now it's set for a meditation bell to go off every 1 minute. You can change how often you would like to do it, or you could disable it altogether. There's also a timer here where this will decide how long the soundscape goes on for. And you could set it from several minutes to several hours. Some people like to use soundscapes to fall asleep to. So that is another feature here. So there is a lot of sliders and buttons and ways that we can interact with the soundscape. But it can be a lot to deal with at the beginning. And if you're just trying to think of ideas, that could be kind of difficult. So something that I like to use a lot is the various presets on the right here. So what these are specific levels that were set before by someone else that elicit a certain idea or mood. So for example, there is the tranquil preset here. If I click that, it will set to what this person considered as what they considered to be a tranquil mood. There we go. So those are available to serve as a really nice starting point. Also below here there are testimonials, and these are different statements that were made by people who have used mynoise.net for making their own soundscapes. So for example, this person says that they loved 88 keys and it really helped them focus and was so beautiful. If you click on the blue heart next to their testimonial, you'll see it made a completely new soundscape, and that is the soundscape that person that made the testimonial made. So the person that said they really loved 88 keys, this is the exact soundscape that they created. So what we'll do right now is we'll turn this back, reset it to what I had it at before. And to keep this going as you go off, you can just keep the tab open, or there's this really helpful button that says clone as minified player. And in a much smaller window on the side, it will keep the soundscape going if you want to have different places on your main tab that are playing music. So as that goes, what this did right here is it brought me to the online noises tab. And this expands upon much of the soundscapes we heard before. Because one way that I find helpful to make a lot of my soundscapes much more interesting is to mix soundscapes. You don't have to stay on just one. One of my favorite soundscapes to go to is the Take It Easy soundscape that is right here. So we'll go to that next. So as this loads up, you can hear there's a lot more electronic noises in this one. There's a lot more percussion in the background that adds to the ambience. And what I'll do here is I'll go over to the load button here. Earlier when I was messing with the levels here, I saved it as a cookie. And if I load that, this is what I created earlier that we also heard in the beginning of the video. So now that we have all this together, you can just hear the various layering that occurs when you put two soundscapes together and how much of a difference in the sound it makes. For example, if I mute this, you can hear just the piano. If I unmute it, you can hear this soundscape, which shows just how much of a difference it makes mixing them and the very unique type of environments you can make. So, where to use and find mynoise.net? Obviously, as I'm doing right now, you can just use it on your computer, in your browser, on Google Chrome or Internet Explorer, whatever you may use. You can download it for free for Apple devices like your iPhone or Android devices as well on their respective app stores. And you could also find a lot of these compositions that people have made using this program on Spotify if you go look that up. The reason I wanted to talk about this program today is during these very difficult times, and a lot of times having to stay at home and work from home, I have a lot of trouble getting distracted sometimes, and this is a program that I found very interesting and also helped me to focus a lot more. It's helped me a lot out right now, and it's given me some comfort and something interesting to interact with all this time at home, and I hope it could do the same for all of you. So thank you for watching the video, and happy creating, everyone.